Ladies and gentlemen, how are we doing this morning? Capital G. Finally for a little bit of quiet time so I don't have to race against my daughter's nap or sleeping or anything like that. So, yes. I'm going to bring you today Yoriko, the Tiger Shadow. I've had the deck for a while. I was a little surprised I hadn't covered it yet for the channel. So, yeah. A rare instance of a deck that I actually have on paper. Before we jump into the deck tag, just a couple quick reminders. Please, if you haven't already, if you want to play some games with Commander with my crew, link in the description below for Dungeons and Cardboard Discord. Obviously, Magic's not the only thing we play, and Commander's not the only format we play. Tons of games if you want to play there, including Flesh and Blood. We have a group for Minecraft and Diablo 2. So, we got lots going on there, and of course Dungeons and Dragons, so absolutely come on in and have some fun and meet some cool people all across the world. Anyways, Madame Yoriko. We got ourselves a legendary ninja. Very popular commander, of course, and I expect to see some new toys when the new Kamigawa set comes out next year. I figured I'd do her now because I just played it this weekend and had a great game with it. So what does she do exactly? If you've not been acquainted with her yet, she is in Dimir colors, a black, a blue, and 1 generic for this 1/3 human ninja. Has Commander Ninjutsu, which means from the command zone or from your hand, if you attack with a creature and it is not blocked during combat, you can pay the commander ninjutsu and basically swap her out for the attacking creature. The attacking creature would return to your hand. She would come out tapped and attacking and unblocked because blockers have already been declared by the time you use this ability. And that is an ability, by the way, so this gets around commander tax. You will never have to pay, or should never have to pay, commander tax for Yoriko. Whenever a ninja you control deals combat damage to a player, reveal the top card of your library and put it in your hand. Each opponent loses life equal to that card's converted mana cost. So yes, the bigger the spell you flip over, the more hurt you deal to the rest of the table. So let's see how we're going to go about it. We're going to start with our artifacts, of course. Because the deck is... The deck wants to play cards that are lower on the mana curve, so we're not going to see a lot of mana rocks here. Only the Soul Ring for our mana rocks. That's the only one, just to take pressure off of our lands. The rest of the artifacts, of course, we're running Key to the City. A great way to make our creatures unblockable. Tap and discard a card. We're going to have extra cards anyways from Yoriko's trigger. So we can discard a card to make a creature unblockable. Not just ours. We can do some political shenaniganry with this too. And if you need some extra card draw, whenever this becomes untapped, you can pay 2 to draw a card. We've also got Meekstone. Most of our creatures are not that big because, well, we're ninjas. So creatures with power 3 or greater do not untap during the controller's untap steps while this is in play. Running the Rune Stalactite, we have a bunch of ninjas, but not all of our creatures are ninjas. So this will turn our creature into a ninja. If somebody just happens to have like slivers out there, it turns into a sliver also. All of the creature types. So obviously watch the board to see if this is a good play for you. Now here's the spicy stuff. The Cauldron of Cernity, 12 mana coming out of Throne of Eldraine. Black, and 10. So if you flip this on the top, you're dealing 12 to the rest of the table. When you actually want to cast the spell, it costs 2 less to cast for each creature card in your graveyard. So if a game goes a little longer, this is a way to we can throw this out for the cheap, and we can pay a black and 2 life to return a creature card from our graveyard to the battlefield. This of course also means that if any of our creatures die from here on out, they go to the bottom of our library instead of the graveyard. Brand new card with Thieves Tools. When it sits to the battlefield, we get a treasure, so it actually ramps us a little bit, even if it's just 1-shot ramp. Equipped creature can't be blocked as long as its power is 3 or less. So if Yoriko's already on the battlefield, we can throw this on her, and she's unblockable. Trailblazer's boots are here for the same effect. Equipped creature has non-basic land walk. That's it for artifacts, by the way. So let's look at creatures. Some of them are cheap because we want to cast them early and return them to our hand with the ninjutsu ability. They're quite evasive. Others have a big old casting cost, so we can dome our opponents. So for example, Artificer's Assistant. 1 mana whenever we cast a historic spell, scry 1. So we could get some incidental advantage off of this over the course of the game, but it's a 1/1 that's hard to block. That's why it's here. Adamus, All-Seeing, a nice little plan B hidden in the deck. Triple blue and 3 for this 4/5 Flying Sphinx. The idea is to reveal her and dome everyone for 6, but if we get this on the battlefield and we're having a hard time bringing somebody down to 0, we can knock them out with her trigger. Whenever she deals damage to an opponent, we may reveal our hand. If cards with at least 6 different converted mana costs are revealed this way, that player loses the game. Avatar of Woe. This is a card that I go a long ways back with. So 8 mana for this 6/5. It has Fear, and if there are 10 or more creature cards total in all graveyards, this spell costs 6 less to cast, so this often comes down for double black. We could also tap it to destroy a creature, and it cannot be regenerated. Cool abilities. But it also costs 8. It's a great card to hit off the top. Our first other ninja of the deck, Azra Smokeshaper. 4 mana for a 3/3, but it has ninjutsu of a black and 1, so much like Yoriko, if we have a creature that gets through on the attack, we can pay a black and 1, swap them out for this guy, and as this enters the battlefield, target creature we control gains indestructible until end of turn. So let's say we have, a ninja and a bird. Let's say it's Yoriko. Yoriko attacks with a bird. Yoriko gets blocked somehow. We can ninjutsu out the bird and protect Yoriko. That's an example of a line of play that can happen here. Also being a ninja, which means when he deals damage, triggers Yoriko's ability as well. A Baleful Strix. 1/1 Flying Death Touch, and when this enters the battlefield, draw a card. This is a great card to, bring back to our hand, recast. Bearer of Silence seems like an odd choice. It's a 2/1 flyer. It can't block, but it's supposed to attack. And whenever we cast the Bearer of Silence, we could pay 1 and a colorless, and if we do, an opponent must sacrifice a creature. Deep Sea Kraken. It's a 10 mana for the 6/6 that cannot be blocked, but it has Suspend of 9. So rather than paying 10 mana, we can just pay a blue and 2, exile it with 9 suspend counters. So 9 turns seems like a lot, because it would have to take 1 off every turn. However, when an opponent casts a spell, we can remove a time counter from it. So while it's suspended, we just take those time counters off and could come down way faster, especially in a 4-player game. Distended Mindbender. 8 mana for this 5/5 Eldrazi insect, but it has Emerge. So for black and 5, we can cast the spell for the Emerge cost, but we have to sacrifice another creature. Let's use the exact wording. You may cast this spell by sacrificing a creature and paying the Emerge cost, reduced by that creature's converted mana cost. So let's say our Yoriko's on the board. We can sacrifice her into this and reduce the cost from 7 to 4. So that's actually the idea, is we want to sacrifice a Yoriko, put her back in the command zone, so one of our other unblockable creatures can swing in, and we can ninjutsu her back in that way. Also, when you cast the Distended Mindbender, target opponent reveals their hand. Choose a non-land card with converted mana cost 3 or less, and a card with converted mana cost 4 or greater. That player discards those cards, so we can rip somebody's hand apart with this. In a similar vein as Elder Deep Fiend, this was a bane of standard back in Eldritch Moon. 8 mana for this 5/6 Eldrazi Octopus. It has Flash. It also has Emerge, so same deal as before. We sacrifice our Yoriko, reduce the cost from 7 to 4. Cast this at flash speed, and when you cast this spell, tap up to 4 target permanents. And this was a big factor in the game I played this weekend. Where you cast basically an overrun effect and had 5 werewolves out. I tapped 4 of them down. Fallen Shinobi. Black, blue, and 3 for this 5/4 zombie ninja. That's a big ninja. Has ninjutsu of 4, so it's a black, a blue, and 2 to ninjutsu this one in. And whenever this deals combat damage to a player, that player exiles the top 2 cards of the library, and we get to play those cards without paying their mana costs. We can even hit land drops with this. Frost Augur. It's a snow creature, human wizard for 1 blue, and it's a 1/2. And for snow mana, we can tap and look at the top card of our library. If it's a snow card, we can reveal it and put it into our hand. Yes, we are in fact running snowlands in the deck. There is a light snow sub-theme here, and you'll see why that's relevant as we go. Ginger Brute, 1/1 with haste artifact. I like him. I like the Ginger Brute here because it doesn't matter if I open the game with a black mana or a blue mana source. I've got a 1/1 on turn 1, and on turn 2 I can ninjutsu. The fact that we can pay 1 and make it so that the Ginger Brute cannot be blocked except by creatures with haste is also really nice. And in a spot we can turn it into 3 life, but we're trying not to do that. Hired Poisoner, a 1/1 with Death Touch. If somebody's got a big creature, we've got this out. They're going to want to block this thing rather than let us ninjutsu. Icebreaker Kraken. This is one of the biggest payoffs for running snow in the deck. It's a 12-drop, 8/8. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each snow land we control. We are running 21 snowlands in the deck, just so you know. So this is going to come down for 5-6 mana whenever, if we need it. When this enters the battlefield, artifacts and creatures target opponent controls do not untap during that player's next untap step. And if we need to, we can always sacrifice 3 snowlands. Or actually, not sacrifice, but return 3 snowlands back to our hand to return this to our hand. If ever we need to. Ingenious Infiltrator. I like the old frame on this one. Black, blue, and 2 for this 2/3. With a ninjutsu of a black and a blue. Whenever a ninja you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. It's a Vidalcan ninja of all things. So, they were having a lot of fun when they made this particular design. Jace's Phantasm. 1 mana for a 1/1 with flying, and this gets +4/+4 as long as any of our opponents have 10 or more cards in their graveyard. Sweet. Lochmere Serpent. 6 mana for this 7/7, and it has flash. When it's on the battlefield, we can pay a blue and sacrifice an island. This cannot be blocked this turn. We can pay a black and sacrifice a swamp to gain a life and draw a card. So great abilities there. Black and blue, and for a black and a blue, exile 5 target cards from an opponent's graveyard. Return Lochmere Serpent from your graveyard to your hand. You can only do this at sorcery speed and only when this is in your graveyard. But this is a great way to control somebody's graveyard. You have to have 5 targets though. That's what makes it tricky, is you have to have 5 targets in one opponent's graveyard. It's still a big 7/7 for only 6. Gives us some graveyard control. It is fantastic. Lochthwain Gargoyle. Again, just a cheap creature, a 0/3 for 1. And it can be no matter what land we draw, we can put this down. We can also, if we wanted to, pay 4 to give the Gargoyle +2/+0 and flying until end of turn. We're never going to use that. It's here just to get that first attack in and get our ninjas on the board. Merfolk Secretkeeper, a 0/4 for 1 blue. But it's also one of those adventures. You can go on an adventure for 1 blue. We can venture deeper and have target player put the top 4 cards of their library into their graveyard. And believe it or not, this has been relevant. Someone tried to find an answer to one of my board states in a previous game using Scheming Symmetry. So I've actually used Venture Deeper to mill it off their library before they got a chance to use it. Miss Syndicate Naga. 3/1 for a blue and 2. Also has a ninjutsu again for a blue and 2. And whenever this deals combat damage to a player, you get a copy of Miss Syndicate Naga. Ninja of the Deep Hours, one of the most popular ninjas actually. 4 mana for this 2/2. The ninjutsu is only a blue and 1. Whenever this deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. This was a heck of a card back in original Kamigawa, and it's still a good card today. Ornithopter, 0 drop, 0/2 flying. Fly over, turn it into a ninja. That's the plan. Pilfering Imp, 1 black for this 1/1 flying imp. You can pay a black and a 1 and tap this and sack it to have an opponent reveal their hand and discard a non-land card. Again, we're trying to use it for the evasion. The ability is nice, but it's here entirely for the evasion. Priest of the Haunted Edge, another snow payoff. Black and 1 for this 0/4 zombie cleric. Tap, sack it, target creature gets -X/-X, where X is the number of snowlands you control. You can only do this at sorcery speed, however. Karzi Sadist. A black and 1 for this 1/3 human cleric with exploit. And when this exploits a creature, target opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. Seems kind of odd to have exploit, but again, Yoriko many times is actually more powerful in our command zone than she is on the battlefield. So if she's out there, we'll gladly exploit her. And it gets even better if we can swing with our Karzi Sadist and they don't block it. Then we can ninjutsu Yoriko back in, take the Karzi Sadist back to our hand, and just loop it. Sidisi's Faithful is here for the same reason. It's a blue for the 0/4. It has exploit, and whenever this exploits a creature, return target creature to its owner's hand. It's also useful just as an unsummon on its own. You can sacrifice itself if you must to get your ninjas through. Silent Blade Oni, big demon ninja. Double black, double blue, and 3 if you wanted to cast it normally. Ninjutsu is a black, a blue, and 4. When this deals combat damage to a player, you get to look at that player's hand and cast a non-land card in it without paying its mana cost. So strip away our opponent's best cards. Silver Raven, 1 blue, 1/1 flying. When this enters the battlefield, scry 1. Fantastic. Slin Voda, the Rising Deep. Big 8 mana, 8/8. It's got a kicker of blue and 1, so 10 mana if you want to play it kicked. If you're playing this kicked, something went wrong in your game if you're playing this kicked. But if you do, return all creatures to their owner's hands except for other merfolk, krakens, leviathans, octopuses, and serpents. Slither Blade. Don't say that too quickly, it's not going to work. 1 blue for this 1/2 that simply cannot be blocked. Sparring Construct. Again, 1 mana, 1/1 artifact, and it's a generic mana, so any land that we play will do to get this out on turn 1. When this dies, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. Spectral Sailor, another 1 mana flyer. Also has the added bonus of extra mana lying around. Dump it into the sailor to draw a card. Stonecoil Serpent. So if you ever flip this off the top, it counts as a 0 drop, which is unfortunate, but even with an X equals 1, it's going to have a 1/1 counter on it. It has reach, trample, and protection from multicolored. And this can scale with the game, so if the pace of the game is as such that you need this to be a 5/5 or a 6/6, it can happen. Stronghold Confessor, 1 black for this 1/1 human cleric. It has menace, so that's why it's here. It gets around blockers very easily, especially in the early game. It also has a kicker of 3, so you get to the midpoint of the game. If you need a creature to be a little bit bigger, you can kick it, and it comes in with 2 +1/+1 counters. Tezuko Umezawa, 1 blue, 1 generic for this 1/3 human rogue. Creatures you control with power or toughness 1 or less cannot be blocked. That includes Yoriko, who only has 1 power. Great synergy here. Twisted Abomination. You just need to go get a swamp. Pay 2, discard it, go get a swamp. It's also a 6 mana thing that comes off the top of your library if you hit it. And if this ever enters the battlefield, it's a 5/3 that regenerates. Very, very difficult to kill. Umara Wizard, our first example of an MDFC. The Zendikar MDFCs are fantastic for Yoriko decks. In this case, we have a 5 drop on the front face and a land that comes into play tapped on the backside. So even if you can't cast the creature, that's fine. Play it as a land. But if you do want to cast the creature, you're getting yourself a 4/3, and it says that whenever you cast an instant, sorcery, or a wizard, this gains flying. Chances are you're playing it as a land if you're going to play it at all, but you never know. Vampire Cutthroat, 1 black for this 1/1 with Skulk and Lifelink. Skulk meaning that this creature cannot be blocked by creatures with greater power. So this can sneak through some armies. Varagoth, Bloody Sire, coming in from Kaldheim. Very recent ad and a very fantastic ad. Black and 2 for this 2/3 Demon Rogue with Death Touch. It has Boast. So for black and 1, target player searches their library for a card, shuffles it, and puts the card on top. Now, you can do this when you attack. So after blockers are declared, if you're getting some triggers off of Yoriko, you can only once on your turn during that step pay the black, pay the 1, and put a big drop on top or whatever you need on top. Wretched Grift, 7 mana for this 3/4 Eldrazi Hippogriff, of all things. It also has a merge, so this comes out for a lot cheaper. It's a 3/4, it flies, and when you cast this, draw a card. Again, because Yoriko is often stronger in the command zone than she is on the battlefield, this is a great way to get her back there and get some advantage while you're at it. Moving on to some instants with Brainstorm. Brainstorm is not necessarily a great commander card. It's good if you're running a lot of fetches. It's really good if you care about what's on top of your library. 1 blue, draw 3 cards, put 2 of them back on top. Or, well, I say 2 of them. Any 2 cards from your hand back on top of your library in any order. Consign to Oblivion, our first example of the split card. For whatever reason, it's showing the, I think it's the Amonkhet remastered version of the card. So you don't actually see what it looks like. I'll get the real one here for us. But what's nice about the split cards is that when you're evaluating their mana costs, especially with Yoriko's ability, you add the sum of the casting costs. So Consign to Oblivion is in fact a 7-drop card, even though you can cast Consign for 2 mana in order to return a non-land permanent to its owner's hand. And Oblivion you can cast from the graveyard as a 5 mana sorcery, but it's a 7 mana card. So that's what it's here for. Very efficient board control. The 5 mana lets you take 2 cards away from somebody if you really need to cast the Oblivion side, but the Consign side is very useful. Moving on, running Graven Lore because we're running Snowlands. So for 5 mana, scry X, where X is the amount of mana spent to cast the spell, then draw 3 cards. So even better if you manage to spend nothing but snow on this. If you manage to get, if you manage to put at least 4 or 5 mana of snow into this, then you can actually set up your top deck. Even if you don't dump that much snow into the spell, it's still going to get some garbage off the top and get some good cards into your hand. Limdol's Vault. This card is stupid powerful for Yoriko. A black and a blue, instant. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. As many times as you choose, you may pay a life to put those cards on the bottom of your library in any order, then look at the next top 5. So basically what happens is that once you're happy with your top 5, shuffle the rest of your library and put those 5 cards on top in any order. So you can get the best Yoriko triggers, you can plan for the mid game, or depending on the board state, you might be just straight up ending the game with this. Mystical Tutor, I do own one. This is where it is. Go get an instant or sorcery card, put it from our library, put it on top, and we've got some big instants and sorceries. We've already seen our instances, so let's look at our sorceries. This is not a big one, but it's a useful one. Artful Dodge. For 1 blue, target creature is unblockable, so Yoriko already on the battlefield, make her unblockable and swing. It has flashback, by the way, so you can do this twice. Blatant Thievery. 7 mana spell. For each opponent, gain control of target permanent that player controls. Running Blood on the Snow. Great board wipe, and this was a game-winning play for me this weekend. Black, and 4. Snow sorcery. Choose one. Destroy all creatures, or destroy all planeswalkers. Then return a creature or planeswalker card with converted mana cost X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, where X is the amount of snow spent to cast the spell. So even though at the time I was only able to put 2 snow mana into this, I'd spend all my other snow sources on other spells and effects at that point that turn. Even though I only had like 2 snow in it, that's fine because I was able to get my Slither Blade black. And once it came back around to my turn, swing with an unblockable creature, flashed in Yoriko, and won the game. This was a huge clutch card this weekend for me. Connive and Concoct, a proper split card. You can cast one side or the other. And Connive being a 4-cost spell, Concoct being a 5-cost spell, it's a 9-cost card. So you flip this off the top with Yoriko, deal 9 to the table. Then for 4 mana, 2 and Dimir Hybrid, gain control of target creature with power 2 or less. So take a chump away from one of our opponents or a utility creature. Or for 5, you can surveil 3, then return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Both incredibly useful here. Same deal here with Discovery and Dispersal. Discovery, 2 mana sorcery, surveil 2, then draw a card. Nice. Dispersal, 5 mana instant. Each opponent returns a non-land permanent they control at the highest converted mana cost amongst the permanents they control, then discards a card. And, well, with their powers combined, it's a 7 mana spell. Enguruk's Wake, a 9 mana spell. A big 9 mana spell, black, and 7. Destroy all creatures and all planeswalkers you do not control. Black Predation, this one of course is an MDFC. For 3 mana as a sorcery, you can have an opponent reveal their hand. Force them to discard a card of mana value 3 or greater. Alternatively, you could play it as a tap land. You has the option. Plague Winds. 9 mana spell, again, destroy all creatures you don't control. They cannot be regenerated. Regeneration was actually a thing that came into play. The werewolf deck actually had a Rapid Vigor and used it to protect their board from Enguruk's Wake when I had cast it earlier in the game. So that game went long, was very evenly balanced. So I needed to actually turn to my big spells to try and gain some advantage. Raven Form, 3 mana sorcery, exile target artifact or creature. Its controller gets a 1/1 blue bird token with flying. Fair deal. We don't get to remove artifacts very often, so let's get rid of one. We can also foretell it by paying 2 and exiling the card, and then we can cast the spell on a future turn for 1 blue. Rise of the Dark Realms, another 9 mana ace in the hole, black, 7. Put all creatures from all graveyards onto the battlefield under your control. Temporal Trespass, triple blue 8, so it's an 11 drop. It has Delve, so we can exile cards from our graveyard to reduce the cost if we want to cast the spell, but if we do, we get an extra turn. On the topic of extra turns, Time Stretch. No way to reduce that 10 mana value cost at all. But if we cast this, we get 2 extra turns. With 2 extra turns, we should be able to get through and win the game. And Treasure Cruise, 8 drop. We can reduce the cost by exiling cards from our graveyard thanks to Delve, and we get to draw 3 cards. Moving on to the rest of our lands. Ash Barrens, we can cycle away to go get a basic. Bojuka Bog to exile an opponent's graveyard. Choked Estuary. When this enters the battlefield, we can reveal an island or swamp card from our hand. If we don't, and it enters the battlefield tapped. Still, if we've got a good starting hand, and this is in it, it's going to come in untapped and put a 1-drop down on the board for us, for sure. Clearwater Pathway. I've got actually a nice foil one. I'll see if I can dig that up for you here real quick. But we can play it as Clearwater Pathway on the front side or Murkwater Pathway on the back side. Either way, it gives us the mana color that we need. And there it is, by the way. Let's just unsleeve that real quick here so you can properly see it, because these sleeves kind of dull the foil effect a little bit. Moving on to Command Tower, because of course we're going to run Command Tower. Darkwater Catacombs. Pay 1 into this to get a blue and a black. And, well, that's our commander's ninjutsu cost, so perfect. Ice Tunnel, Snowland. I don't have the Cold Snap one. It doesn't have the basic types, but it does have the snow types. So, unfortunately, I don't have that one. Reliquary Tower, no maximum hand size. We will end up with excess cards if we're, going nuts for our ninjas, so good to have. Scavenger Grounds, exile all cards from all graveyards. Other than a couple of delve spells, we're not using our graveyard too much. I would rather exile graveyards than, keep them around. 10 snow-covered islands and 10 snow-covered swamps. A strip mine. Just in case we run into a Maze of If. Just in case. Maze of If is a big shutdown for this deck. And I should probably be running more targeted land removal for that reason. This is the only one of those that I have right now, so strip mine it is. Sunken Hollow enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 2 or more basics. With 20 basics, it's unlikely to come in. It's unlikely to come in tapped. Temple of Deceit. This will always come into play tapped, but it gives us a scry. Underground River always comes in untapped. We can always use it for a generic mana if we want it, or we can get one of our colors, take a little bit of damage, fair deal. Watery Grave, same kind of thing. Comes in, we'll take a little bit of damage. It's ready to go right away. Love the shocks. And speaking of love for the Yoriko deck. Obviously, this is not like the super optimized version. There are many more cards that manipulate the top card of your deck, such as Sensei's Divining Top. I did want to keep this, in the realm of casual, shall we say. But if you wanted to further optimize, you go get your Sensei's Divining Top. You go get Vampiric Tutor. You go get Scheming Symmetry. And just always have the best card on top of your deck every turn. As it stands, it's already, with what we have here and with that little bit less control of the top of our deck, already a very strong, very quick, very nasty deck. So, I love playing it. The snow thing is a personal touch. You don't have to go the snow route. That's definitely how I separate my Yoriko deck from the pack. If you don't want to do snow, don't do snow. You don't have to. But I thought the snow cards were good enough to run, so there we go. On that topic, we're actually running a little long on this particular tech, but you know what? I had a lot to say about this one because ninjas are fun. And hopefully next spring we'll see some new ones. Until then, enjoy the rest of the week, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.